As Halloween closes in, the northeast is not short of spooky places and haunted sites, thanks to its rich and extensive history. Whether you are looking to spend a sleepless night in a hotel with transcendent lodges levitating through the corridors, or whether you're hoping to sip a beer with an ethereal guest, the northeast has you covered. So here's the northeast's top 10 most haunted places you need to check out this Halloween. Number 10, Royalty Theatre. Originally built as a church in the 19th century, Sunderland's Royalty Theatre was then used as a hospital during World War I. The theatre is seen to poltergeist activity and strange footsteps both on stage and in the wings. It's thought that while attending a show and you see a pale-looking person behind you, it may in fact be a spirit, after several reports of ghost sightings of the theatre's auditorium. Number 9, Floddenfield. Just over 500 years ago, Floddenfield staged the bloodiest battle in the history of England, with 14,000 combatants losing their life in the space of 3 hours. Considering the scale of such carnage, it's not surprising to discover that some unexplainable activity is being recorded in the area. Ghosts of fallen soldiers from both factions can sometimes be heard or seen reenacting the devastating clash. Number 8, Marsden Grotto. This is a very strong contender for Britain's most haunted pub, with mysterious bare footprints appearing on the bar floor, which will simply not wash away. Some have also reported hearing frightful knocking sounds emerging from the cellar. You can also stay at Marsden Grotto overnight, with many guests reporting hearing footsteps and hearing screams during the night. And as if creepy noises and sighting of fully formed ghosts weren't enough, Marsden Bay is also thought to conceal a sea monster called the Shonny. Number 7, Blanchland. This Northumberland village has a poetic name but such a chilling past. Retractable from the church's graveyard where monks were slaughtered in a bloody raid rest. The story goes that as the Blanchland monks prepared to defend themselves from the ferocious outlaws willing to ransack their abbey, a heavy fog blanketed the valley and disorientated the delinquents. Seeing this as a godly intervention, the monks started ringing their bells to celebrate the divine miracle. Sadly, the peal drew the raiders' attention and helped them locate the abbey, where they eventually killed the monks who inhabited it. From the day of the massacre, it is said that the funeral knell tolls in the distance and that the undefined silhouettes of the murdered friars brim the cemetery. Number 6, theshipisis. A now well-known Sunderland pub and eatery is said to be haunted by the ghost of serial killer Mary Ann Cotton, along with some of her 21 poisoned victims. Among the 21 victims included 2 of the murderer's own children, whom she allegedly buried where the pub's basement now is. With disembodied cries and screams filling the bar and sudden apparitions of a woman wearing Victorian-era clothing, you may inevitably end up spilling a drink or two. Number 5, Newcastle's Castle Keep. The 12th century castle is the city's oldest building, which practically guarantees the presence of ghosts and spirits. One of them is the so-called Poppy Girl, a flower girl who was imprisoned in the castle and who eventually passed away there. She has been sighted wandering the building numerous times. Psychic world correspondent Matthew Houghton once interviewed a member of staff at the Castle Keep. The worker claimed that he was thrown to the floor by an invisible force and scratched on the leg, causing a wound so deep that it actually required stitches. Number 4, the Old George Inn. This former coaching inn in Newcastle is thought to be haunted by royalty. In 1646, King Charles I was kept prisoner by the Scots in nearby Anderson Palace. Sometimes this man would be allowed to temporarily leave his cell to pay the Old George a quick visit for a drink. To this day, the pub keeps on display the actual chair which the king would sit in when in need of some refreshments, and customers believe to have seen Charles to get comfortable in it in the form of a greyish fog. Number 3, Langley Castle. J.K. Rowling stayed at this location for inspiration when working on the renowned Harry Potter books. The castle, which is now a hotel, has had spectral guests for centuries. Among them is Maud de Lucy, widow of Sir Thomas, who built the tower in 1350. Devastated by the news of her husband's death in the Battle of Shrewsbury, Maud jumped out of the highest window of the castle, from which she is said to have been keeping a watchful eye out for her soulmate to return from war. Guests have encountered Maud sobbing, muttering Sir Thomas's name repeatedly, and throwing herself again out of the same window while tears streamed down her cheeks. Number 2. The townmoor. You may be wondering what this is doing on the list, but the area was actually once the site of Newcastle's gallows. Hundreds of people were hanged in this extended portion of land until its final execution on the 23rd of August 1844. Most notably though, 16 people, 15 women and 1 man, were hanged for witchcraft back in 1650. And number 1, Chillingham Castle. Originally a 12th century monastery, the medieval fortress and village of Chillingham has recently gained the reputation for hosting the largest number of ghosts according to TripAdvisor's Most Haunted list. Among them is supposedly the spirit of a Spanish witch who is said to curse whoever steals something from the castle. A betrayed wife, Mary Berkeley, also floats the halls, occasionally popping out of her portrait dressed in grey. Visitors have also reported smelling a rose scent associated to her while visiting the castle. A lady in a white dress carrying a basket is said to haunt the forest, surrounding 3 of the hanging trees that were used in the castle grounds. The castle's Edward I room is said to make visitors very uneasy, with visitors experiencing emotional outbursts and visitors insisting that they leave the room immediately. There's been numerous staff sightings and visitor sightings of a man in black hooded robes said to haunt this particular room. This particular spirit is said to be the castle's sadistic executioner John Sage, who worked there in the 13th century. He is said to have tortured and killed 7,500 people. The castle's most famous ghost is the Blue Boy, a child who was being bricked up alive in blue clothes and whose skeleton was found inside a 3-metre thick wall during renovations. Do you agree with our top 10 list? Let us know in the comments below if we've missed out any haunted locations in the northeast that you think deserves a mention. Don't forget to subscribe, like our video and turn on the notification bells to be alerted to any upcoming new videos.